Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever when in any part of the world. This is Mohammed Shilan in North Carolina, coming back to you people from last week. And of course, as usual, when I know the nature of the show, it's live, is participatory in the sense that you can call in live and ask questions and make commentaries and or check us on the various medium then where we get where you can able reach we. So make us start off with the various numbers then. Say when I know say we get the Voice of Salone network, which we get certain numbers then. We get a toll free number 1-866-944-7722. 866-944-7722. That's the voice, the toll free. Then we get the UK number if you're calling from UK, plus 44 2080891455 plus 44 2080891455. If you call from Australia, now plus 61 290984 plus 61 290989 And also you go reach me on WhatsApp if you call. Now 1-343-997-5828. 1-343-997-5828. And I also know say when I can able reach me in Facebook, Instagram, and those media. So now I want for introduction. Today we're going to have a special guest and someone who is a social activist back in Sierra Leone, and she's going to be participating from all the way back home. And in name na Namakoro Sarata Sila, Miss. Because we normally call everybody Miss. You married, you're not married, you're not Miss. And so that way they will not go wrong. Any Misses na Miss. So she will be helping us to participate and to discuss and elaborate on the drug issues and problems we will get in Salone, where they become kind of rampant now. So we've been striving and craving, trying to get the contribution and participation of someone who is very well aware and familiar with the problem back home for address the issue. So she's going to be helping us today to just address some of the issues today, and they could tell you some actions or inactions that are being taken or not being taken at the country. Okay, so we hope, because a day we left off last week, so we just start off with how we left off from last week. Of course, when I also know say we can always get multiple topics. So even though this might be the main topic, we try for make when I also know say there will be other things there because there are related matters to this drug problem. Besides, there are problems that are related. Maybe I go with Ms. Silana want for touch on that. I will touch on that in terms of what I would call the residual effect of this drug business by people them, and in fact, not too far removed from government activities in terms of the proliferation of drugs in the country. So government self gets some blame here and there. Besides the fact that the treats with them, how drug they end up in the country, we get for lay the blame sometimes where it belongs. And then we also get hear along that trend day that there were 35 boxes of cocaine missing at the police station. That sounds a little bit suspicious, but we'll go address that in the two. And then there were other issues that we may be able to come to, how some people in back home, they deal with the economic hardship back in Sierra Leone, particularly in the north, which gets some people in with the assistance of one lawyer who become farmer. Now Sierra Leone at the north, where they try for show people them how to convert potato into flour for make bread, which is very creative. So there is a lot people in their own hands for try for cope with the hardship. Then, of course, there was a recent address by the president to the the civic society groups, and we get some comment to make as to in my view, I would say the dubiousness, not of the president you address, but of the groups then we respond after the president address to them. So we'll deal with that. That said, Ms. Sila, thank you so much for coming, Ma, and being on board. If you can just introduce yourself and tell the audience what your name, whatever you want to say about yourself before we start the program.
Okay, so I'm Nyamako Stella. I'm a healthcare professional at Nadat. I don't do all of my work in life. Very recently, returned to Sierra Leone. So this is my second year. So I do any number of things. Try for work with communities, trying to secure a symbol for being member of parliament for a particular area, involved in activism, alongside being healthcare professional, all of my work in life. Me also an activist, representing them where they talk about social issues where they affect Sierra Leone and Sierrans. From a career point of view, in Sierra Leone, I've been known during the Ebola epidemic. I'm the first executive director for Rainbow Center, where they deal with women the way fall foul of sexual assault, physical violence in all its forms. That was in 2012, and then into the Ebola period. So most of my adult life since I left school, United Kingdom, I've been there. So that's now the sort of background of my life, which I don't do all this while.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now the main topic and the hot topic in Australia today, now this drug infestation or epidemic, we seem for they affect the country, and we just want to see how well you can help with for analyze them. And so I don't want to take a lead on that because I'm not an expert on that. So I will appreciate if you can just give me a broad view, depending on which way you want for discuss them about this kush. Now, particularly when the primary drug where they affect people them, and then the broader effect of that on the community. So please feel free to go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think everybody gets an idea of the devastation, or people the way their interest get an idea of the devastation of drug addiction in Sierra Leone. And drug consumption and drug addiction in Sierra Leone. It all starts with kush. Sometimes some people go remember in the past, people then they take weed and jamba, which we call locally jamba, and they take then can get a bit funny that, then commodity, then begin to take pampers, water, they take all that thing and so on. So we always don't get that kind of society, particularly what people then call the underclass, were very susceptible. Then they fall victim to this kind of drug thing and addiction within we communities. Them. So when it comes to kush now, Kush na a type of jamba drug where inside Salone then they mix them with other things. And some people they say that they mix them with formaldehyde. Formaldehyde now the thing that they use for balm the body. Some people say they get some kind of bark, then tree where then they mix them with, you know, for kind of enhance the experience for people the way they consume them. So very difficult for know exactly waiting at the thing where they gone in so far as kush and waiting and they put inside it for give people concern. Because I know if government authorities then on take this drug gas to look and evaluate it and then provide the findings waiting they go. Anyways, if you did Sierra Leone, you don't go far to see the effects of kush in our communities. And no matter how you did a salon, like you the inside hole. As you left that hole, they so come out nadu. You dey see bobo them, then they take kush, them get all the signs and symptoms of people the way drug induced or drug overcome in all sorts of ways. You go to them busy metropolis area, but then they other people they're working there around and you will see all the signs and symptoms of them, that glazed look and then kind of bent over and stupid and able to recognize what they go on around them. You know, all different things. You go there inside, outside there, holiday, maker and king day, like them beachside and so on, all them kind of experiences, then there you go get them. The other thing is that we get a lot of these youths now then they apply, we load them with the keke, that's cool and sort of small vehicle where people then they go up and also the bike and they get them now them okay to the driver now then the apprentice now the put them bus system and all kind of thing and then them market the highways and the byways then so all you go you or any side you go you must come across the effects of kush or the effects of drug taking and overconsumption and all of them kind of thing in there. Then you place that in background of extreme poverty, lack of food, but could be not validate to them parents, them on another within family situation, then they by themselves, they try to manage their life better know they, you know, all kind different social circumstances and situation. They inside the whole mix up box up where surround this drug taking and push consumption. So speaking at the ground, not see changes, a lot of support or interest for people the way they go inside in communities and they check them picking them where they take them, young people the way they take them, go on, check within the substances who help make some of these things better. There's no coordinated effort. No way, not the way people and they reach people in mass. I mean, you one or two small NGOs that will go inside slum communities and try for with young people then we hooked on drugs. But then few and far between. And because it's the effort that they put inside, you know, they see the end result. You know, it's like where you just take one a drop of water for all to be fire, that sort of thing. So it's very problematic, very problematic. Over the last few days or so, I see instances where the judicial Leone they give report on people then where they don't apprehend in terms of selling to their communities where they lock and so on and so forth. But I think the problem is far deeper than just hold on people them say, oh, they sell drugs to people in the community, and so it's far more than that. It's social problem recruited, the issues where people and defendants that is situated in the drugs that are addicted to drugs is very deep. So until then, problems and they deep down, then look at them, then aim for focus inside the communities them. Something and getting to say go difficult for we.
Okay, make I ask just a few questions based upon waiting you just said. Oh, by the way, let me notify the listeners then that the lines are open just in case, as usual, anyone will listen. If you get any question for Miss Sila or for me, please feel free to call. If you get any comment, of course, when I know the standard 3 minutes, 15 seconds time limitation, so you can call and just make sure you package your questions or your comments within the 3 minutes, 15 seconds. So please feel free to call. The lines are open. Okay? But Ms. Sila, going back to you, not just for ask a few questions then. Number one, if the government have established facilities to deal with the addiction or the usage of users of this drug or any type of drug, illegal drug. Do they have facilities and treatment centers, or do they just treat it strictly as a crime? If you are, well, I don't even know which are the criteria for being caught or charged with an offense, but I will get to that. So, but you know of any facilities within established or centers where they deal with with treatment?
So now Salone, so there no established centers or facilities not there for support people then we addicted to drugs.
Okay.
We see we get Kisi mental institution, a wide range of issues, very recently published, but the volume of problems that we're out in our communities, no single institution are able for you actually in field workers then we go inside communities and first of all assessment of the problems. Okay, so in a word, but I mean we could talk about and why that isn't, and why it would be useful for the long term.
Okay, well, the field workers then, where they go and they are able to identify people where get that kind of problem there. So what do they do? Do they get them arrested or do they get them committed? I mean, I'm watching at the process back home because what a lot of we concern about is to see what on the government side is being done to assist or eliminate this usage. So when they identify the people, then say, okay, you get a kush or a drug problem. What else is done? Anything beyond that?
So the main of meal suggestion, we not even get anyone. We not get field workers where they go out to with communities, people and be able to I think that will start for let them train up people them we go out into community, call them field workers. So we don't get that all. So at the moment the waiting I see the authorities they do now like apprehend people then way intoxicated with drugs, then can go lock them up or then charge them with something if then they again then catching in the some of them picture one that they see outside of Sierra Leone, all over the internet, where you can see intoxicated people, they lay down a ground. They're not even able for say lift the body. They're not even bother with people, and you go in and about Freetown, you find scores of people like that, just lay down ground, then totally out of it. Nobody know they do anything but them. Then just stay there. People just explore them business. No authority, not they touch them. Nothing basically they know they do. As I say, only information when me get what I know of. Now, the fact that the judiciary of Sierra Leone put out information a few weeks ago, they say they apprehend people who sell drugs to others in the community. These them people there, so they in custody, then they are trial, so on. But a more sort of therapeutic approach where you get that kind of system of case workers, where the community workers, where they go inside places then for go look for vulnerable young people, then we homeless, we not get family support, where they work at them particular jobs that were not mentioned as apprentice or poda boy or keke driver or bike driver, any kind of vulnerable groups of people, and they somebody where they go sit down and talk to them. It's very, very few and far between. Like maybe a few NGOs, and they out na the community where they support them. And then self were able to reach everybody. They were able for only able to work in small areas at a time.
Okay. Now, since you're a healthcare professional, and I'm sure your presence is well known in the country as such, have you had anyone on the government side reaching out to you to try for tap on your expertise for see how some of these problems can be taken care of?
That's very interesting. No, in a word, no, no, no. Other people and they where they support in them, they sell, to the kind of place where people they reach out forget help and expertise of certain individuals. I think on the whole, over the last 12, 14 years, it work a certain kind of way, the way we send the work. So no, not get that. But that did not get for stop anybody. We're really concerned about the thing they go on now with communities then for help or for reach out, and in any way you able to do as a professional or an activist or individual. You can talk to people there, you go along, you can get into conversations, you can run campaigns, different way than the way you can reach out to people and talk about it. They are done inside public transport one time. A group of young people, they were young people, listen, them on the college, so other one them, na they one they will run there in an area, then kind of thing, and one of them they talk about how push him feel when he take me. In say that na good feeling he gets. The other one and they talk about some thing the way happen on them friend we take him. So when I felt myself in that kind of situation, there I begin to talk about push. I talk about some of the long-term or even short-term effects that it will get, the way it will destroy their lives, their ability for think, their ability to build on waiting and get. It affects them in ways where even self no, because we not get the facility for the and go to the we picking them. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
then one, but the additional thing, the way they let's just say, for example's sake, the formaldehyde, we really don't know waiting to people from a health point of view, you see. So any situation where you find yourself and you're not person where the ability for able for reach out to communities, for able for talk to people them, for able for put message across in a way where people can go able to understand. I think say responsibility for buckle down and do not wait for government, not wait for government, because when you open your gate, as you open and so you they see two over there up road, then just they wait for the kush fix for get before they're able for kind of like do anything. In fact, they never do anything after that. You see, they don't take and that's it. They don't put up now, go on, they're gone completely with it in. So no wait, when you know healthcare professional, blah blah blah, you get so much experience. No, sit down wait, say person for call you. Get out there and do something. Start a campaign. Talk to people then. How we live in Sierra Leone na by contact and connection and so on. Nobody not live in isolation. You dey know people in the neighborhood. You dey see young witty full of young people. You dey see young people they pass in groups and then kind of thing and they go make contact with, talk to them, begin for do something where you go able to carry the message across where at least if all not hear you, one or two go there they will go hear you. And then it could make some difference in terms of the knowledge about the drug and how to avoid them problems and they wouldn't get.
Now, now, before I begin for answer, because people are not beginning call, make I ask or just make a statement with respect to what the things and what you just say. Now, along what you suggest, where you say no wait for government, I'm a great believer that government not get the capacity to do everything, but government get the capacity for announce and get encourage people them for participate and educate people them that government, even government get limitation. So, but government not mind for work with people them for take care of certain societal ills. So that said, the question where I get for ask, for example, because instead of dealing with the effect of kush, I think by way of prevention, I just want to ask, will it not be helpful, very much helpful, if, for say, in the schools, health expert like you should be even, and I'm sure principals them of schools, heads of colleges, then they see what you would see. It will seem to me that not waiting on the government, they should try to reach out to somebody like you for can talk to them picking in a school, for can talk to the community, let the community leaders then, the imam, the preachers them. I mean, I know in this country I've been called to go to church and speak to a congregation about social issues. So the mosque and the church, not only the preaching for be based on the gospel, I think the preachers then too, the pastors and the imams, they also could help government and help society and help the community by inviting people like you kind for kind of and the establishment, the church, the mosque, after prayer for just introduce you, like I will get you so and let you talk to the people in which you know and share your ideas. So then can go back and spread that into the community. You don't think it's a good idea that one day?
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I agree with you 100%. You see, all of people and they get responsibility within we communities then, religious leader then, tribal leaders, school heads of school, community people, them all of them people they then get responsibility and then get audience. The people the way they go now. Places of worship and so on. So then self can sit down and think ways how they go able to talk to people then. I'm afraid Salone something kind of get a big judgmental sort of mindset. If people and they take drugs, we look say this not a problem, then they put on panels for whatever na the thing, very sort of for reach out to people them, not to the first thing waking down at the mind of the way they access to communities. And I get access to communities that they religious leader them, of school, kind of people then then you always think I think say the overall feeling we can get is that they want the way they take drugs, the young people they take drugs now, people the way they're not doing it anyway. They not get for come into contact with this person or then kind of people then. So the problem not they so affect them outside and they, as a result, they're not a thing kind of, at all. But I agree with you. All them things then therefore be explored. And governments not get for tell them for do that. Then for be open enough. Forget people that on board, we go they talk within them communities for support young people. They're not for number one, not for go inside kind of situation where they begin take drugs, where you're addicted to, and if you then at that situation, they for promote the and make a better go of your life. You see, so yeah, in agreement, but the actual doing of it's not the problem.
Okay. Now, Mecca, I get some more comments where I am for making questions where I am for ask, but Mecca, take a call. Hello, caller. What's your name and who's you to call from? Hello, caller.
Voice of Salone.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name Ibrahim.
Okay, Mr. Ibrahim, thanks for calling. All right.
I call from the UAE. So
okay. You're welcome. Go ahead.
This topic we already talk about, sir. Now in our for of much small because
please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. For make a start first, I start first with this kush make a disclose myself. Me have been part of this team where they call kush. Me have been once an addict, so please just anything what I tell you that out of experience, I just share me idea. You get me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. You're quite welcome. You're not the right person we want for hearing from.
Exactly.
Okay. One this kush. Where you the smoker? Me and you don't at the same room at the smoker on the corner, you know they know say they can smoke something. You know get 1 cent at the most and they force at the most dangerous side and they force you can smoke at any side where you want. Don't again where you don't use to run in heart for left. What I mean by in heart for left, in heart we are saying heart for left say and where you don't be in need of where you don't need them. That's the way they do for make like get that push for make like get that push money.
Now that we call addiction.
So this sorry?
I will call that the addiction, where your system don't use them. If you not get time, you feel abnormal.
That's the way they do for make like get that money they for go smoker.
Okay.
Yeah. So this me I can't begin live a life. Today I like for buy value, I like for buy assets. Me na man I like for blood. But I can begin take this here so due to friends them. Due to friends them. The first day we I take this na club. Now this club by local step yonder. This club I go opposite facing sir. One club there they meet up the one man. And he say some I get that we Leone in the smoke in America. That in the kush just come people are not able kush chef. You get me? And
Yes, sir.
system again,
Go
that's
ahead.
the way we doing in America. Or I say waiting so now say kush. But we say dancing in the Thai, we will call Jamba kush. Under that way they name, we will call them kush. So I think say no more maybe the way come America maybe like this. Now see some video man no. Now see some ash at the girl something the way they call ash we na find Jamba they come up. We na find Jamba they come
Okay.
up black wax so we see like goat shit.
Okay.
Now see some ash at the girl now see yes I think girl. You know, a gan the ash, a bilang, then give me 90 lighter. Where I light that thing, I jump 1, 2. Eh? What you see, what you are not seeing, I God may one go no, may God make like that, did not repeat again. I saw the watch film, so I say, sir, what you give me so? Me, the kind, in fact, the Muslim they all turn enemy to me. Everybody. Security the way they waka and the place where I think I say, hey me, they don't make I don't place. This not teamwork, this not set up. And that day before they go na club, I been with me baby, me girl. I tell them say go library, but I say no, not go fit star. I been get brand new boxer bike where I be just buy Bajaj bike and pack and done. So when this incident go happen, I don't say hey something that happen to me. I remember say if me sense go again or if me sense no go again. But I don't think they happen around me, but like everybody just don't turn enemy to me. I say, sir, what you give me to 9 months, sister, steady no more, steady no more. You say you the alright just now, you say na 20 minutes. He came out to me chair, as you don't, I sweat and dry under. He come to me water, I drink. I've been just done by stout and parrot, I don't mixture. I get me cup. I dey sweat by myself. I know. After 25 minutes to 30 minutes, where the youth himself left me. Now in that me baby work out. Now I say, Abraham, I say you the day way they call me again. Because of the imagination the way I be don't go through. I say you the day way they call me again, they call people them. Sorry for use that word there. I seen up at the veranda na the club there. I did forget this club guy name because I don't think now where I come out Salone. Close to the 3 years now.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
Just tell me the
opposite
story. Just tell me the story.
Open garden
Tell me the
today,
story.
I didn't at the veranda. Now they are tin up. I know what you that they done, who that not tin up done. The cup where I don't mix, I don't buy stout and panot at all. That's why I just to wait all tin no more. God make a can of host. I ride my bike. God make I able reach na host. We shall reach na host na sleep direct. Early morning. I was fine. The food that they can go na working place. Direct to them if I didn't, we go give me that thing there. But they go direct, now go meet and that morning and then I say, Samir, you go long. I say, you know, you want me to go crazy? And I say, Sam, not so, you know, my man, go appreciate no more, you know, big dog, you know, boy, man. I say, big dog for what in. So, would they find the alala? Tell her, are they pan threatening and this that? 93 are the boy then come pass. Then they pan pass. 9 man call them, 9 man and 9 man say, Sam, what you man that be make for you? So 9 man is in a kush. 9 man say, what you 9 months you know, man, na me man or na me brother. You man make you feel you man yesterday. Or you man feel one kind when the attack at me so. 9 the other one say, Sam, but wait, better you say, oh, well, come we don't want to in process. 9 the other one back full your own story himself. I just say no more, you know now what thing because if you show me the thing on it, I say okay, show me and back, but make a tiba. I can't believe. My full and a small pocket, then show me and a small one shoe. Maybe say even if you have to have me, Jack and to say it don't done.
So make I ask you this: you use them again after that first time there? You use them again?
At the rich day just now.
Okay. The reason we make an action because we'll get limitation on the time. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, make a just cut and short. Okay, come on the economy area. I begin one man then. I mean, now one of the first man that we know about that thing day. I begin one man there. Something don't come with the call kush make man and come up behind that thing day. And not to say me other man himself, I can't be don't say that himself go future man. Himself in picking small left line picking and not dying hand. What he make? When we don't go high, people then come for taking picking hand, you know, agree. You know, eh? So now can you say explain me say, hey, he said Sam, that's you will tell me Sam, me na this problem here, so now go pass with me. So now so team be the go. It begin rampant now, it begin car around the area now, push out the block now. You know no more now, paddy then. So now so time gone, one time back. Now say, hey, I say make a jack come back. Now jack come back one more time. And not feel again like how I be feel. So now so the taste begin come back. Say I go inside and I'm back. Say I go inside and I'm back. But when I don't become addicts now, I want left you man. As he say me, I know they buy property again. Me find clothes or find properties when we are left for buy again. Even me bike for Lago service and membering. I know they do again. I hold 1 million this week here. Before they say 5 days, 6 days, that money they done. I don't know how in they done. God make I get small access. I say this the only way man will come up behind this thing, make man left this country here. So now they left, I left so I move on. But really that thing they if you are full and I tell you something, 60% of the young man in the Salone, they sell the business. You know they take our 60%, then they sell the business. Because the business get money. Don't let me say 70% maybe they use them. I will stop there for now because of the time.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibrahim. Thank you so much. You're not the appropriate, you're not the right person to call and listen to, because you know now this country, the part of the world where we're there, and the part of the world where Miss Silabi Day where go settle back in Salone, we know say when you get them problem here, like you remember you say you begin forget all kind of imagination about your girlfriend or your woman where you take go. That imagination, they under regular drug treatment, then call it hallucination. You begin to think all kind of wild stuff when not real, you know. Then we'll let hear from people like you, because people like you don't get actual experience. You can tell the effect, particularly a country like Salone, where we will not get experts then where they deal with people affected by then social problem here. And these are the kind of things then where we think say call for punishment, arresting people, locking them up, because that not solve the problem at all. In fact, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And but I don't want to go too far into that because the officials
make I add one last voice. Make I add one last voice. Sorry for cut you off. Before me time
no problem.
Done.
No problem.
Tell you back right now, the big one they don't make money from that business. They don't open lab na free zone. They get lab na free zone. Alek na kafada deep step they want turn on to push, then they turn on to push. Alek na fidesz and deep step they want turn on to push, then they turn on to push. Then get the lab na free zone right now. Me I don't want to call them topic they on social media. In fact, the reason waiting give me zeal for talk because of I know say my Facebook name no show. Because I get beaucoup connection there. I be beaucoup big man they will be say yes. I don't sell I don't make money on the business back. I just pull her no more. Dubai itself, Sierra Leone and they don't begin out in Dubai. The only side no more way I got help. Dubai authorities then detect that machine where they can catch the machine no they detect kush yet. Now only jamba and drugs it detect. Again, man, the way they don't fall, they don't smoke. Remember, we don't go test that, you come on negative. Now, Dubai, Sierra Leone, and then they get one way they call Biara. Where you go there, Sierra Leone, and then so did it. Where you go there, you want kush, they get them.
Okay, so is it possible for travel with kush from Dubai to Sierra Leone?
Then easy for high pay. I say the thing no get sense. Easy for high pay. You know, now small we see that medicine packet. Now they in the put na Salone. Now they put na 150 there in the seller. Where you bull land they get more than 300,000. They pull close to 300,000. So now it's to hate profit. That medicine packet, to say they put 10 tablets there.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim. We appreciate you calling. Please continue for listening. And if you think of anything else where you want to add, you can call back. The lines are always open, but sometimes you might get some people in before you. And we will, if you get like 5 people before you, will give everybody 3 minutes. So you will get for hold probably 15 or more minutes before we reach you. But other than that, please feel free for call. And if you know anybody else, where you know will be the user, where not to listen to this program, where you think might help, we for spread the word, please encourage them for call, give the information, let them call. But thank you so much for listening and continue for listening. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Miss Sila, let me ask you for make a comment. Then, of course, I go follow you with respect to my own perspective of this problem.
The gentleman make. Well, the fact that I can once, and then in spite of experience, when I bad according to him, I go right back and continue for taker. And in our come across like us way in terms of in social situation or any kind of thing, because some serious amount of money them where it is spent, everybody is spent and they forget hold of them. So if in get troubles, then they are like a reasonably you can imagine waiting the one when not get your own access to money or access to privileges go they suffer. Very interesting. You know, the addiction issue and where we see now people that where they suffer most of all now they get homes that where they do for sleep night. So they sleep on the market table, seat, any kind of rough where you can the problems they really they are visual in terms of poverty and lack of support. So I don't want to make this whole kush business kind of like something where attractive in any way, shape, or form. Not attractive at all. You know, in nothing way good for anybody. They destroy communities, they destroy their lives, them. Particularly the one they will not get for go any sign so then get for make them way and make their lives them. You know, he writes about the fact that factory and they are so now we they make kush and where they add things them to the kush. So for the authorities, and they also now thing they wouldn't get for speed up and spend them side outside and they make them factory there. So now something where they give people a lot of income, this kush. When they will sell them and them where they can in the country, nothing where they give people a lot of income. Beside outside they manufacture them, all of them thing and they you know. So I would say the authorities really double down on area to see some more improvement. But it gives me quite a bit of insight, you know,
Yes.
and interesting that poor experience where it gets initially is still go on for constitution.
Yes, ma'am. Now, can I take another call? Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's you call from?
Hello, Mr. Shillon. This is Janet Matamusa here.
Hi, Miss Musa. How are you,
And I want to say thank you. Thank you. I'm all right, sir. I just want to say thank you to Madam Tarata, Emakuru Tarata Sila for the time we take out to be on this program. You know, while una they talk about the kush, and this caller coming, I mean, this is like a gold mine. With the scholar for understand the magnitude of the problem in Sierra Leone. I think that this man just opened the mind for able to navigate. So I really want this person, if you're okay with them, for able to reach out to we privately, so we go able to work with them behind the scenes, for able to help waiting Mitaratas Ladika for Sierra Leone. Okay, Mr. Shino, you didn't say whether Canada are able to talk to communities, to the schools, to some other organizations. I think to say once you are armed with all this information, with the person on duty and more when able to do it, then I think to say the police them and ONS or wherever they do with drugs and this and that, then go able for tap into this information and stop this thing from killing our people. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for calling, Ms. Musa. Thanks a lot. Okay, now some of the comments then, listening to the young man talking to Mr. Ibrahim, and just like Ms. Musa just said, that's a gold mine when you get somebody way be there into the thing and you know the effect of them. So, and we see even worse effect than what he described. They think that, and he opened our minds to a lot of things. Number one, what I could deal with is the factory issues. Now, this is where sometimes you get for attack the government itself for not doing the best when they see something where they get adverse effect on society. Now, if there are such factories back home, obviously somebody, the profiteer, and because the average Joe Blow where they get that effect, which then I treat the for them and they sleep on a market stable, they not get the ability for make factory or for convert anything, any substance into illegal drugs. The people and where they do that one day, now people and where get means, where they misuse the means for abuse people, and then the people where they manufacture the drugs, obviously not to then they go out there and sell them, which means they get for implicate other innocent people them by promising them good returns for go out there and entice people them way easy for talking to them here. So you get a chain effect in the sense that somebody get a factory, the manufacturer, he tell an unemployed person, say, hey, if you go pass and sell this thing, you go make 100, 200,000 leones in one day, which is a substantial amount of money for a very poor person, that's Sierra Leone. Then that person, they say, if you go out there and then try for infect other people then by making them buy that drug from them, then they use them, then we see the effect where they get on them. Now, there are so many things wrong because, again, when we talk about government, me not talk about government in the sense of the president, the minister, although the president is the overall boss. If I forget a broader vision or view of how to tackle society heals them. The problem we see is the fact that when we hear about people are being arrested, what is the charge? Are they being charged for public drunkenness? Are they being charged for having the effect of the use of illegal drugs? I mean, I cannot think, in my own view, as a lawyer, an Australian, I cannot think of any charge they can bring against anyone who use kush that is not defendable in court. Because at that very seriously, if they get statute, we normally they can refer to it as acts. At that, if they get statute, we cover all the elements of having the effect of kush in public, and at that also, if they get forensic laboratories, we go test. Well, first of all, if you meet the person, he's high on kush, you don't catch him with the substance, what do you charge him with? I mean, you don't get no basis for saying a kush you're high on because you get to do some kind of testing. We are not too sure if the system is prepared for that. And these are some of the things government can do, Two, Ms. Sila just explained to we for say sometimes even the regular transportation drivers who are taking people up and down the country are users of this drug. So imagine you get a keke driver or the motorcycle. I don't remember how they call that career day. Where they'll take kush, then he pick you up as a passenger for take you go someplace, and it's under the influence of an intoxicating substance. Generally, that's what you would say. Be it drugs, be it alcohol, be it whatever, is dangerous because the use in complete deck in mental faculties is not being well used because it will get what you would call in law appreciable impairment of the mental faculties. And most times when your mental faculties is affected, it's also your physical faculties are also affected. So which heighten the danger on the road for innocent people then. So you can't take that responsibility away from government. But the trouble is we can't deal with anything here because we not get you not get too many people like Miss Silad and kind. We are always looking for PhD, and high sounding degree holders them for solve problem. Where it take more experience and actual practical knowledge and practical training for deal with their societal ills here, not to forgo big university, get a PhD, put on the wall. You can't solve anything. Without, I don't care how many degrees you get, if you not get practical knowledge, which turns into experience. So it's about time we change the system a little bit. Then we begin to look for people of the misled and kind. We get some practical knowledge. We go government go give some funding for help for set up centers because drug treatment is different from mental treatment because addiction is almost equivalent to alcoholism. Some people in there when they drink, they act crazy. Drinking get that effect on them. So these people are taking it. Now this country now, you get alcoholic treatment centers, you get drug treatment centers, which are not mental hospitals or mental facilities at all, because the cause, the effect are totally different from mental illness. So these are some of the problems I get which we officials them. You can tell, say, they don't know that much because you can tell by the absence of policies where for exist in the country we will not get. So if I'm also a little bit disappointed, for example, Sierra Leone, they get a minister of health who supposedly worked for the CDC in the United States. Dr. Demby, I believe is his name. Well, Dr. Demby, if he worked for the CDC, this is as high as you can get with disease control. And I cannot see under any circumstance how anyone who comes from such an establishment cannot just this way prescribe policies for tackle that kind of problems here, unless that person did not care. Because you head in the health sector in Sierra Leone, that should be a no-brainer. It should be just as easy. Even I, as a lawyer, in my experience in tackling and representing clients with alcoholic problem, with drug problem, I can think of so many things we for do for help people then. But instead, what you will see with police, with lawyers, with bookman them, then just they arrest people them. And when you arrest them, you can't do nothing for them. If you go lock them up, you heighten the risk of them even in fact going into what you can call DTs, into hallucination and getting worse. And all because that is based on ignorance, because you feel that when you arrest the person, that solves the problem, which it doesn't. You see, So there are a lot of criticism I get about the system, not because I want to criticize. Now the reluctance on we part, on we policy makers them, who clearly don't know as much as they think they know. We not to reach out to people them. We know. We go help them in the quest for solve societal problem. Instead, everybody just focus on the power. The main problem down there. Because we see how the kush, they affect people tremendously. And you don't have to wait until one of your loved one become a victim of that, you know? And these are some of the things we have to deal with. I want to ask Ms. Sila one or two questions, but please, not to keep the callers them on hold too long. Make I take one more call, Ms. Sila, then I'll come to you. Hello, caller. What is your name and which are you call from?
Yeah, Mina Abdullah comes from America.
Hello, Abdul. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I just found both press with I don't talk about this kush when I menace. I believe this will be a concerted effort in order for that ministry. As I said the last time, the schools, the government, the civil society, the tertiary institutions, they're all for religious
leaders. Hello, Abdul. We don't know if you freeze, but we can't hear you. Hello, Abdul. Yeah, when I hear what you say. Okay, repeat what you say. When I hear what you say.
Yeah, I said this will be a concerted effort from government, schools, the religious bodies, the civil society, for them to be able to curb that ministry. As I said the last time, the sensitization will start from the primary school. I did one school in Maryland here. I go visit today one day. When I see one, just like with this boy give you experience. Then the school district they use them as for go mentor other students them about the danger of drugs. Because in self it may admit and they explain how in start for take marijuana as a gateway drug. Then he elevate them to cocaine. Now they take the cocaine, we eventually ride in bicycle where he go get accident. He paralyzed from the neck down. Now wheelchair day. So wow. They go around the school. Yeah, they go around schools for sensitize students about the dangers. So the school district they use them. So we need this boy we call from UAE in kind when them would for team up because this is our sensitization. Whilst government they do their own side for try for cover chase the drug barons the civil society, schools, the universities, the colleges, necessary for step up. The mosque and the churches necessary for step up. At least once in a while, every month, after the khutbah, the Friday prayer, where they go get more people then give somebody where go get 15 or 30 minutes talk. Now the churches them get the same thing. At least because if the thing the sensitization they go then they tell them the effect, where necessary then they show them movies about the effects of these drugs. It go able to instill fear in them youth there for let them reduce the drug intake. I feel to say that the only way that we will, but government will step up and then we get social workers them. Because the social workers them we know they put emphasis on that material, especially social workers them we geared towards the mental side because we know the menace of mental health when another aspect of the drugs we picking in the take. So the society if we really want for cover, but if we just left alone haphazardly, like the way it don't go so, I'm afraid the future for the youth is bleak. And that's what I'm there for. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate Abdul as always. We one of our dedicated listeners and contributors. So thanks for calling. And if something pops in your mind as the program continues, please feel free to call back. Ms. Sila, so what you do so far, some of the things then where they talk about, you think apprehension alone, because when I apprehend, it seems to me the goal behind apprehension is punishment. Punishment in the sense of locking you up, and I'm not so sure if that does any good to society other than showing raw power, and which I will call misapplication of power and misuse of power, because it doesn't help society. And so, because for instance, for police them for even deal appropriately with the issue, we have to be able to train them along that line there. Because just police doesn't mean you get expertise in everything. You should get certain police group or sector where then an expert will forget the appropriate laboratories them, where the test, if you're a seller, then catch you with that. It's a different issue. If you are caught selling, that's a different issue from addiction or from being affected by the drug itself. So, but when you catch the seller, that of itself is not enough. There has to be proof beyond reasonable doubt that the substance you catch at the person in hand, na kush or illegal substance. Then how do we test then illegal substance here? Do we have the appropriate laboratories? Back home, they will say laboratories. By the appropriate laboratories then for determine if in fact what the person had. Or could the person have had something like Mr. Ibrahim say, where he say they get labs, then we can turn even cassava leaf to drugs. So do they have appropriate laws on the books for cover then type of crimes then the drug crimes where you cannot specifically put in the books in terms of the element or the content of the described substance within the charged person for. So it's a challenge to the authority then. So the Attorney General for show interest in this line. The Chief Justice for show interest in this line. I mean, these guys are not holding them position just for the name, which it seems like sometimes in Sierra Leone, that's all they do. They don't strive for gain knowledge. It's a mistaken belief that if you're not Attorney General, if you're not Chief Justice, if you're not Director of Anti-Corruption, you don't need any more education. You need education until the day you retire, because the world evolves. Things are happening, new skills are being learned. It goes for every profession, for the legal profession, for medical profession, for dentistry, for you name it. Now, Sierra Leone is the only country we know where you get qualification, you put on the wall, you don't learn all the book in the wall. And that's why we're so lacking and lagging behind, because we get this false premise and false belief that once you get that certificate that you know it all. No, you don't. You need people them, you need experts, and we officials them for show more interest in the ordinary person. It's how you treat the least among us, not how you treat the well-off, but the pan-body person, the person who live extremely poor. Now government then job for try for elevate them people in to the level of humanity. So mean that some of the things around there. But when you look at young bobo them, we don't know any better, they should be taken into rehabilitation centers. Dr. Demby, the Minister of Health, a CDC worker, he should know. He should be the one doing this thing. I would love to invite him on this show for tell we. Maybe he's doing all of these things. Maybe governor will listen to her. But we will not know that. We can only talk about the absence of certain things because we don't know if they exist. But if we are mischaracterizing the effort of the government, and the government is on top of things, let us know. Please feel free. Because we find out for, say, a lot of the government officials, you got a few. I can always cite the Minister of Information. He is always ready to come on media and defend imposition rightly or wrongly, which I like about him. But the vast majority of these guys, they don't come on shows. They don't tell the public what in government to do. I don't know how they expect, and then we see the ill effect of what you would consider to be non-action on the part of the government. And so I translate that into meaning they just don't care. Because if you are a government, if you're a minister, you work for government, you should care enough to tell we, the rest of the people, then what you want to do. And when we bring ideas then or topics then to our attention, now our responsibility, because the job we want to depend now for serve, not to for dictate, now for help humanity, not to for help on ourselves. So I have problems with this with them fellows there, them bookman there, where they not get no productivity. They will not see anything beneficial coming out of them. So I mean, you don't gripe that one day. And I always throw this challenge. Show us that 6, 7, 8 years where you just spend at university. Let us see we will see it coming out of you by helping the rest of us. So until then, I will hold a lot of these guys in contempt. The degree makes no difference. You PhD on the wall, your master's degree on the wall. In America, we can say it's not even what the paper is written on if it can't do anything for humanity. It's not worth anything. Maybe not even to you. You know? Now, I want you to contribute to society and we're interested in. But these are things government should be tackling by introducing facilities, hiring more people, and this will help with the unemployment. Because, I mean, if we get more trained social workers, and even people that with practical experience who are not trained social workers, people who might get practical training under somebody like Ms. Silla, all that helps. So we're asking, but this thing about just arresting people, I don't see a situation where an army man was being sacked because he's an officer, and this man, they gave him a hearing. Now, one of the worst injustices that I'd ever see. And boss just tell and say, oh, you were found drunk, you were dead, drunk, this, that. So because of that, would sack you. Well, if you go get forgive a decision will go affect a man in livelihood like that, even under the own constitution, he forget a lawyer for represent him, and I think an able lawyer, not just a lawyer, because there's a thing called adequate representation by counsel. But you know who does bring the man in front of you, you the boss man. Now you're not the accuser. Then you the give him a hearing. Then you determine the outcome of the hearing by sacking him. And that's it, without regard to the effect that it could get on the man himself, in family, and so many other things. These are some of the things, the due process, the kind of thing that we talk about. Now, Sierra Leone, where we lawyers then still need to get some education in that line. They themselves don't even know what to do, because I'm coming to that with respect to the conversation where the president gets with civil society and how I think highly irresponsible they were in saying some of the things that we didn't say at the State House meeting with the president. But so let me revert to Ms. Silla. Let her not dominate the conversation. Ms. Silla, you get any more suggestions or contributions or any comments where you want to make, please feel free.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So one of the things that we have been one for talk is that the way things work in Salone, also so una the experience outside of Salone in other I would call more progressive situations. So and police they work different there. Laws may or may not be enforced. General testing centers for where they find people in a street, drug intoxicated, for find out waiting do them all day. In fact, oftentimes if people in a street, they're intoxicated with substances, the chances are somebody will just keep running and pass. You know, then it not just the work now like where people think na other side. And another one for put forward any reason waiting that the case. We not a yearly if government they do big thing them in terms of for fair and case what and for go inside community and for talk to people them and for reach out and one the way they take drugs and we get addicted. We not a yearly waiting at the thing where they happen and also we not a scam. Wetin we dey see are huge numbers of them young people there. So up and down the country, some of we dey go up and down the country. We dey see bulk of them. You know, then a different side and compromise situation, and then slum area, under market table, and so on. You just get for comot inside any metropolis after 7, any city area after 7 or 8 o'clock evening time, where you go see, well, you know, there you will get you evidence. And the police, the security forces, the police, the army, they're not part of community. So when a police and army personnel, then they're just as affected with kush as is the normal general population. So inside the NZ, you go find people then way drug addicted because they're the same drugs that are available to the rest of the population and then they take. Even a Mio area, not far, we go then get police posts. Some of the police will take something then. So now it is we around we and it is all side outside the pass. It don't matter outside go. So if really national program tackle this problem, first of all we get from we get forget some understanding how big the problem is. And I don't know sometimes Ministry of Health they do something in that regard the so then therefore come out and explain to the country and concerned civilians abroad looking at the way they not as where we get where we deal with for starters. We get for how this other than the people that were vulnerable. Others decided say for argument's sake, they manufacture, I don't know, 10 tons of it. Then they do 10 tons, they within a week, you are kind of big with it. You know, authority for begin for it's a problem. But if you know how big the problem is, what are the issues of able to actually tackle it. You know, so the vulnerable community, how you they talk to them one and the outside they go where they able for influence them. Then where they get deep social problems, no family. People then kingdom left from where they really they fed for themselves. Some people then we get hordes of children, young people at the country. And when I say children, I mean children. Then they under 15. Just they pass up and down at various communities them, then they work at the fence, small to eat, friendly, they walk, they do this, they do that, and not they any sign near them, people them, so they not lost contact with people them from where they live. All in groups speaking and the way you go, let's call orphans, they get side for tap, then just say they live by their weights. Then they have a very powerful population. The authorities are able to target them, they prevent some of them issues here so where they happen in terms of drug addiction and being open to vulnerable situations where people will use them for be like a drug mule or something like that for the pass up and down. They do all kind of negative thing there where they disturb people in the community. Systems and plenty, not just normal for apprehend the way they sell drugs here and there and punish them. Now, for look into social systems, the way families and they break down now this country, where education not accessible to many people now the so-called underclass, but picking and then another go school, they not get no stable for go school from. They not get background or family or anything like that where they support them. Some people then one bobo been there where I been sabi na this area where in people can say make you go fend for himself at age 11. He get for common and community, they work up in western area, some put local, they fend, walk and small things they wait for do. So now very deep problem there, some not mentioned, but it gets tackled at the root. And we get for find ways and means for get an assessment, proper assessment of issues. So we get law and authority and with the legislative better laws for support Sierra Leoneans. But the actual implementation of the law, the actual sure things happen to the majority of Senegalese who remain then still in abject poverty, not able to do nothing for themselves, and merely scrape together, living by gardening or something of kind of thing. So now that thing really, I think if we get proper resolve for some problem, we get to go right back to the basics and see what are the thing where they make with society, they break down to this extent where any side where you go, this proliferation, if you look of drug addiction and drug taking, just the right day before we all die and we see them every single day. Every single day without exaggeration. You did say you come out now. Pastor, you locked yourself inside room, but you come out now, do you must evidence of this kind of drug and drug addiction. So that it's more in depth than just one or two senior centers here and then kind of before all anything and they good, but we get right down deep and find out what's in the team where make society they break down to such an extent all thing which we be know as halfway normal that this country not a walk again. Nothing not a walk. I can't hear anything.
I'm sorry. It's my fault. It's my fault. I'm sorry, Miss Sila. So no, I say, listening to what you say, it tells me clearly that we have a lot of work to do. I normally, right, because every segment of society get for put their hands to the wheel now for get things going. But some segments get more power than others. One segment, now the health sector, way for encourage and get special funding for get expert like una for deal with them problems here. We'll go hire other people than I want. But me target is mostly the legal profession, which has been so derelict, so absent in solving a lot of the problem in that country there. So let me tell you, when I read something like let me just read. When first what you do, then get a new act for substance abuse. Then get a new law which replaces dangerous drugs, whatever dangerous drugs means, under a good constitutional guidelines. If you're no more specific than just a dangerous drug, you cannot convict anybody. You have to be very, because these are crime-specific accusations. So when you say dangerous drug, what is a dangerous drug? You forget elements of what is dangerous. Otherwise, it's vague, it's broad, it's unconstitutional. So these lawyers then begin for use more of the legal skills. Okay, let me read this thing. The new act, which replaces the Dangerous Drugs Act, which I think by the heading of itself, it don't make any sense, provides a legal framework for imposing harsh penalties on drug-related crimes. It prescribes mandatory imprisonment of not less than 5 years for possession and use of hard drugs. That tells me right there, then so-called experts, we're going to introduce this in parliament, they don't know what they talk about. Because when you say possession and use, you can't even make the law that way. Because somebody could just be a user and a possessor just to use. Somebody can be a possessor because he wants for seller. These are two different categories of crimes. The person with the user, the punishment should not be mandatory unless in a repeat offenders. This is where the experience comes in passing laws. We're so lacking in that country today. Sometimes it infuriates me because everybody is an expert, then they come up with silly laws where to me it just breach people and constitutional rights so badly. I wish I were a young lawyer all over again and I am back home. I will take issue with the government left and right. I will just be a radical lawyer just because of the situation. Because when you begin for pass law, when you make laws like illegal for 5 years, mandatory, then they go put you in a prison, we don't get no facility for street drug addiction. So I reach you turning that place there into a warehouse of the mentally insane, because that would be the subsequent result. I get drug problem. You give me 5 years in a Panama Road. I go there. When I can't treat me for drug addiction, I not sell them. I get for spend 5 years in a prison. By the time I come out there, I'm finished. Mentally, physically. So this is what we bookman them, we lawyer them. These high-named guys, they just don't know. And it's nothing wrong in saying, I go Yale, I go Harvard, I go Oxford, I go Cambridge, I go... But I don't know everything. So when I get this power, when I need for talk to people, then we get practical experience. Sierra Leoneans, then they're all over the world in all walks of life. Now that make when I get embassies, now that make when I get ambassadors. If when I really want to help society, but it is grossly unfair for sending a person to prison mandatorily, which means the judge not getting a choice. If the person is guilty of usage and or possession, regardless of the extenuating circumstances, the judge gets for sentence to prison. Now, let us distinguish that from trafficking. Trafficking is a totally different thing. I can see mandatory sentence, but even at that, it depends on the severity and the quantity of the drugs. So some of them laws there, they're not appropriate and nothing inconsistent with the constitutional requirement of Sierra Leone. Because you cannot just take somebody in freedom from them. Just because when I in a parliament get the power for just make outlandish laws. So these are some of the things that we may get problem with. For instance, now, how can you give a person 5-year mandatory thing, then we'll get people that with the import and export and transship and transmit drugs overseas? The possession of cocaine, not different kind of drugs. So kush might be a dangerous drug, but you can't equate with cocaine. So we legislators then they need to make some better, well-crafted, well-thought-out laws then, because if they get lab in Sierra Leone, they make cocaine. That's a different story. Okay. Let me see. Then say the act also prescribes harsh punishment for money laundering. Yeah, I can understand that. But who launders money? The people who they launder money are the one who they empower. So the punishment is just on the books because nobody gets punished for money laundering. The successful Lebanese business people them and the successful black Sierra Leonean business people them, and then the money launderers. The ordinary person doesn't launder money to the best of my knowledge. I can see the drain whether they get in the economy. So that could be another thing. But any law where you pass, any law for taking into account two aspects. If you are a repeat offender, and whatever a repeat offender could be, whether you've been charged and convicted more than one time, more than two times, I can see a mandatory sentence or imprisonment being given to you. But short of really killing somebody, you just cannot pass a law and make it mandatory to that extent. And, if not first offense. So what we'll get to what you call mitigating factors. There always has to be, the court has to have the flexibility of listening to mitigating factors. Then the prosecution forget the ability for come up with aggravating factors. If the aggravating factors then weigh the mitigating factors, then we can understand if a person is given a harsh sentence. The court will say, well, the first time you were convicted, we try for sending a rehabilitation center. We try to do the best we can. The second time you were convicted, we'll give you a split sentence, the kind of sentence you will not get back home, all of which should come into the system now. Not to European Union for begin to tell we how for sentence to people. You can give people a split sentence, partly community service, even weekend service in a jail. If you want to just teach the person a lesson, you can sentence them to 20 weekends at Pandeba Road. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he is out there as a productive citizen. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he can go spend some time at Pandeba Road, make his see what it look like in case they send him there for years. So we're going to come up with then creative ideas. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of us who have walked into a highly, very sophisticated system. Believe me, I've represented hundreds, if not thousands, of drug offenders. I am familiar with the kind of structural sentencing them, what we get in this country, all of which are absent in Sierra Leone. And these ideas have to be introduced in our system, because what the pattern is, until the European Union tells us there's something wrong with the system, with all the big education we get, people don't even see anything wrong with the system. The last time I watched where the Chief Justice give, because the European provide money for people and whether they're in jail, some of whom are waiting trial for years, not even brought to trial. And the European Union found out for say it is wrong, and some people have developed mental problems while in prison. The European had to provide we money for tell we say we people are being unfairly locked up and kept in solitary confinement, and we create undue mental illness for them. And then if we give money, and then the Chief Justice appoints one of the judges who is part of the problem for go conduct hearing for release some of the people who himself now part of whom those sentence people into jail unnecessarily. So we have to stop this inferiority way of thinking, or inferior way of thinking. We need if we say we learn book like the white man, let us come up with some creative ideas. I mean, I don't resent them telling us what to do. I appreciate it greatly. But we don't necessarily have to do, and in fact, these people are so sophisticated, it's hard for now for even accept some of the offers that they make for help we solve a problem, because they've seen it all. The problem when we get back home, we have authorities, people in the position of authorities, who know very little about judicial administration. So you get a judge who is poorly trained, like the artist, the young man where they caught in here under Chief Sovula, then go put in a jail. Then in accommodate, then you get a magistrate who is poorly trained, who just quickly, for political reasons, sentence the guy and lock them up. We got to stop this. This not to cast the profession in a good image. We need for appoint, or when you appoint them people here, send them abroad or get people them abroad for do Zoom training to some of these guys who are in a position of affecting people in lives. But we cannot address this issue without taking on the legal profession in Sierra Leone, because they are coming extremely short. The one that would defend the people them, now they adopt the appropriate defense. The Attorney General, now they address the issue. The Chief Justice, now they address the issue. These people, So overall, this drug business will continue because we have to deal with it holistically. We get to deal with the whole issue of what has to be done for improved society. It's not all about money, or the big issues. The economy goes hand in hand with some of them social ills there. There is no reason for a person to sleep on the market table. The governor for allow that. There is no reason for a picking of school going age. You see, if I had anything to do with watching President Bio introduced the free education, one component of that education, there should have been mandatory school attendance. As long as you're of school going age, you should be in school, or you must be in school. That will have been a major component. If you try to educate the masses, you for make a mandatory. Where I'm talking to you people from, it is a crime. A picking of school going age, if it's at home, the neighbor call the board of education and tell and say, I see some bobo look 10-year-old, 14-year-old, it does the pass. One of the parents will get trouble. That picking they don't get no business to pass because when they raise a potential loser, criminal, and all of that. So it is a crime. Any picking of school going age for being in school. There is nothing stopping us from implementing such requirements back home. So the free education should have had that component there. Instead of sending picking back home for go sell market, boy picking, girl picking. In fact, girl picking more vulnerable. That picking there for day in school. So there are a lot of things we can do for people. But I can understand why some of the NTNs not they happen, because with people that way hold the power, with the big degrees, don't know these things. They don't have the courage to say they don't know. But they really don't. Because if they know, we will see the effect. We will see the positive effect. So these are some of the things there. So this kush business, I would suggest that we go get for deal with them at least one more time at this network, because it's a very persistent, serious, devastating type of social problem what we get for address. And let me encourage a lot of we alpha them, we teachers them, we principals them, we bosses them for encourage employees. And when an employee show the effect of the influence of kush or any intoxicating substance, the first order of business now for calling to attention, and if he's addicted, try for help him by subjecting him to whatever treatment or advice or anything or counseling. But the thing you add to the problem where you suck him, then now that man they don't get economic problem in addition to a drug problem. You don't help the man in a situation where you arrest him, you go look on a Pademba road. Now just the opposite effect we will get. So we leaders them for do better. We can't just keep criticizing the poor people and where they use them and sleep on the market table. We leaders are disappointment because they are not living up to the expectation where society want or expect of them. So if it will be a travesty and will be derelict in criticism if we just talk about the kush user, we'll not talk about people like Dr. Dembi, we'll not talk about people like the chief of police, we'll not talk about the chief justice, we'll not talk about the attorney general, all of whom are not doing enough, maybe are not doing anything. You see, that would just be an unfair, in fact, and a wrong assessment of the situation. So that said, I'm saying all of this for let's look at the whole problem holistically. So please, let's take a moment and help the one that will sleep on this problem. Now, I don't know if people in the follow we show just a few minutes ago. We show on the screen while we were talking 2 instances. One man, obviously under the influence of some substance, they try to start and ride a motorbike. They're not able. Then we show a video of another person who apparently is the driver of a vehicle, just passed out completely, like car under the steering wheel. Well, either one of them people in there, if they get the ability to move that vehicle there, they are going to kill someone or kill themselves or destroy property because they lack the ability. A person like this, if for encourage society for call the police, for come and gently arrest them, not to for go lock them up, for take them go hospital, for detoxify them. Because if you let this man grab and begin driving, he go kill somebody. Where's the other person at the motorbike? He try so hard. If he take off here now, he go bank somebody or bank property, kill himself or kill somebody. Because if somebody to out a motorbike, you don't know say don't take kush, you don't know say he had no right. You can become a victim of that. So we talk about protection of society. You see? So, and also this kush business goes into this whole thing about public health. You see, it affects we things say, they affect we will not use them. Because when the man take kush, he go sleep in the market when they sell you food. He is a human being. He go wet by himself, he go do other things. It affect the public health and the same market to say this person to use as a bathroom. I didn't get for sale with pepper, with yabas, with permanent in. So we cannot ignore that. Public health is at stake. Public safety is at stake. So this then here get chain reaction. Look at the man at the motorbike. Look at the driver. So I'm just saying all these things. It's like a chain. So and when then here happen, there is a chain reaction. So please let we begin to understand how we, where they on high horses, who think say will not they down there like the man was sit down before that thing there. It affect we indirectly. You don't know this man can take off, they go kill you picking where they come to school. Or bang you off where they cross streets. So, for which state that happen, you for try to prevent that. The basic thing we can do right now, we can encourage citizens. Instead of because then they look at the people as an object of curiosity. When you take kush, where you act crazy, people and sit down, they look you. The warning for be call the police and train the police. They're not for manhandle them people and they therefore gently get them out of their condition and take them to a safe area. That we can do. European Union not get for tell with that. World Health Organization not get for tell with that. We intelligent enough, even if we not go school for no saying that we for do. So I am suggesting all these things, hoping that the powers to be go here, some of them comments they would make, and no say some of we not impressed with all the big sounding degrees we then get, we will not see the result of the degrees in there. We want to see, they say, the measure of you people, the measure of a man, now waiting day in you what you can produce. So no can scare people and with big degrees. Let's see what that degree they can do for society, So I mean, you comment down there. So Miss Sheila, I'm sorry, I've been very long-winded. But sometimes I get carried away because I think we officials, they know they act right. Therefore, take advantage of people like you, and there are quite a few people like you, where society you know the tap on a talent and give una the wherewithal. If there is money to go on expedition on per diem, there should be money to take care of people living back home. So, and of course, I am way above Salone politics. You know, I don't reduce myself to that level because now ridiculousness they back home, not to politics. They don't care for the people. Because if they do, we will see what they do. So please, if you have any comments to make uh, after my long-windedness, please say so.
We problems there, so them naya them boku. We all know that. We all know that. We need a much more coordinated approach to with no matter what in be. We get for some basic foundation where for implement or for put in institute. From that foundation, we go for build come up. But if we don't get foundation, we just for use this expression, clutching at straws. We just a clutch anything where a quick fix. Let we lock some people up where they sell drugs. We do that. Make we I don't know apprehend some soldier man them or policeman them where they take drugs yonder. We do that. So nine and call in English knee jerk approach. We not get any kind of concerted effort where we go put together for say, okay, so this not the problem there where we get waiting at the team where we go do begin for tackle problems there. Sometimes we not know the extent of we problem because we quantify them problem there, so put them into category, know what thing we they deal with, know the extent of the problems, in numbers them, the areas them, all that kind of thing. And so all of the issues there, so the lack of, they make we get a very chaotic society. And Boku people can put forward theory of why we're so chaotic, now we communities them and waiting are the reasons for that. Yeah, plenty work there for do, plenty work there for do. I think say this we all nation are all hands on deck. Who are able for can help, make can help. First time I mean they look down on certain groups of people, say, oh, this not go do that, this not go do that. But the way where the work overwhelming, I think anybody will get some amount of experience, some amount of understanding of issues and people and communities and systems and law and healthcare and governance and so on, he able for help. So yeah, it's exhausting. It really is exhausting. And I guess until something able for happen, we're going all the strands together and just the for struggle.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sira. There is a topic because among the topics that we say we want to deal with today, we may have time just for one more topic, which I mean you are welcome to stay. You may feel free for contribute or not for contribute, but now the civil society groups them. I want for address because that phrase they entail some large degree of civil responsibility. So when I cannot call on ourselves civil society groups, when I not do much for the society. Una cannot call ourselves civil society, particularly the journalists in the legal profession, and then una be a mouthpiece for a government, regardless of whether an APC, SAPP, PNP, 4C, 4C, it doesn't matter. You cannot be a mouthpiece. Your responsibility, your primary duty. Now, for be as objective as you can. Don't be unduly influenced by money or bribery, and call the shots as you see them. Otherwise, you are doing a great disservice to the society and to the people. And you misuse power like politicians, and you misuse them because you're joining them in oppressing the people. Because if you are a member of the journalistic profession or the legal profession, society imposes a high duty on you for being highly responsible in the manner in which you deal with issues. Recently, the president had a meeting at the State House with the journalists and the Bar Association. Well, let me just analyze that meeting there in the forum with them all. It is usually highly unusual for a president of a country to get a meeting. This is not a news conference where usually it can just happen spontaneously. This is a meeting called, arranged for by the Chief of Staff, Mr. Keketoma or Dr. Keketoma Sandi. I don't want to take anybody accolade from him because they work hard for him. Put together, maybe at the behest of the president, but then call the journalists and the lawyers them. The Bar Association, not only lawyers, and say the Bar Association. So the Bar Association, of course, then send them big guns, I guess, when at the head of the association, which the Bar Association then send me Swallow. And then, of course, the Journalists Association then send Mr. Nasrallah. Okay. The president say what you get for say, because the president, from his own perspective, he get for play a lot of balancing act. He get for keep the peace. He get for satisfying base. He get for make accusatory remarks about certain elements of society who are opposing him or no, where he thinks he not like him. In your own perspective of the way things are going, totally different from that of the Bar Association and the journalists in your association. I don't get no problem with the president in speech in terms of in your perspective and in your way you see things. But it's a little bit disappointing when you listen to first of all, I wonder, that was not a press conference. I wonder why the president just called the journalists and the lawyers. If he wanted to speak to professionals, there are other professions. Why not call engineers and doctors and accountants and nurses for joining the group at the State House? He picked them two groups here. That the way say get influence on people in generally. But the irony of it all, Mr. Nasrallah does say this before, and he continue to say this, that any unrest that Sierra Leone could have or might have or was instigated or was done at the behest of the diaspora. I take that to be utterly offensive, utterly ridiculous, and disingenuous, because he not get no factual basis to make that statement. When you do accuse the diaspora, if you get specific people them abroad, whom you have evidence to believe have been instigators, you say so. As a journalist, you forget the basic understanding and rules of qualifying, coming up with a caveat before you make a broad, outlandish statement. Because there are so many people here abroad, in America, in England, and all, who love that country 1 million times than you, Mr. Nasrallah. Whose loyalty to Sierra Leone you can't even challenge in any respect. I, for one, there is not a single Sierra Leonean abroad or at home who care more for Sierra Leone than I do. And I'm not an instigator, you know, but I'm a person who believes in the rule of law and who believes in free speech, you know. So you have no basis to start talking the diaspora. And if you want to talk about the diaspora, think of all the positive things, the great contribution with the diaspora they make to the economy of Sierra Leone, which you may not be making. Without the diaspora, minus the diaspora, Sierra Leone's economy will be down to nothing. You know, the hundreds of millions Sierra Leoneans sent back home from wherever they are in the world, the physical contributions they would and they make, the goods they would and they send, you know, far, far, far outweigh any negativity that you may think of. So that is highly irresponsible of a person who says he's a journalist. Not only is he a journalist, does he say he's a journalist, but he's supposed to be head of a group of journalists. Okay, so that is a criticism of you, Mr. Nasrallah. You should be more responsible. I consider that very irresponsible because you don't have factual basis. You may have one or two people you have in mind, you know, who lives abroad that you think might have instigated some insurrection back home. But that doesn't mean you for paint the rest of us abroad with a white brush. You don't get any basis of that for do that. Now, on the legal profession side, I find it very disappointing that the Bar Association is being used as an instrumentality of propaganda, because that's exactly what happened. Keke Toma called a meeting of an organization that is headed by his girlfriend. It's a known fact. In fact, she should have, recused herself from that, even from attending such a meeting. So it seems to me it was an orchestrated way of misusing, I wouldn't even say misusing the Bar Association for promote the government's ideology or goals and plans, which I think no professional organization should allow itself to be suckered into such a situation. And I find that very highly disappointing. You know, where is the Bar Association when you get a person like Kamarimba, who has been locked up in Sierra Leone, jail, without trial, for over 2 years? Where's the Bar Association? Where is the Bar Association? I don't know Kamarimba, but this is a country of laws. No justifiable reason can anyone come up with the fact that this man has not even been given bail. And where is the official opposition? They don't even talk about him. And people are dancing in the street and say, well, APC kind of power, APC go do wonders. It's rubbish. I always say these guys are one and the same. Okay? So Kamarimba has been locked up. He's long been forgotten. Nobody speaks of the gross injustice of this man being locked up based on an accusation. And they're not, the Chief Justice is sitting there not even trying for compel a date certain for him to come to trial. You know, he's been convicted on an accusation alone. And look at what's happening to the artists them back home. You take the young man, I don't know if I can't even think of his name. The young man who's here was caught and all of that by Chief Sovula and group them and then go lock them up. You know? I mean, what is the profession? Is the profession proud of these things? When you go to that meeting, they will the president call. besides the implied conflict of interest of the head of the bar association, okay, you would think the issue of civil rights and human rights would have been raised by way of asking the president if he's aware that an opposition member has been locked up in jail for years without trial, that the judiciary, the court system finds itself inept, unable to provide bail for the man. We all now look forward to this kind of system, and we are not doing a favor to the country. In fact, we're doing a great disservice to the country when we ignore stuff of that. August 10, not to the worst thing that would happen in Sierra Leone. You know, if the government get evidence of prosecuting people for having instigated an insurrection, not what the Constitution allows, let the government come forward and try these people. Okay, but the government not get no right for to go around the just because then they're in a position of authority to just be widely accusing people. And then you get two associations, professional associations that should know better, making themselves an instrumentality of the government. Let the government runs its own propaganda out there without the help of the bar association. Why would the bar association put the legal profession in such a ridiculous situation? You know, by making, and it's so odd that after the president giving speech, you have these two people get up and make statement of corroboration, as if the president is absolutely or was absolutely right. We're not in place for do that. Now, the outgoing head of the bar association was more protective of the dignity of the profession, Miss Michael, by standing up for justice. You know, she always raised the issue of unfairness, of injustice. She was an appropriate person for the job. So I don't know what the criteria are to make somebody head of a bar association, if there are any criteria, because to me it doesn't seem like there are any. You know? So I hope the one that will listen to me will disagree with me if you think say my statement inappropriate, and you're quite welcome to this show, the Bar Association, the Journalist Association. You can call me anytime. The US, come and try to defend yourself and say what you want to say and what you want to do, the way you want to act was correct. You know? But to me, it looked like it was a propaganda ploy by the State House, by using two of the most powerful professional organizations in the country for support the position on social issues. And now we want to make the court system so ineffective, there's nowhere to go. That's why the president can come up with proportional representation issue. People in the right back and forth, without going to the court way for determining the correctness of such an issue. You know, a major issue. So the legal profession, the journalistic profession, and some of these professions are major contributing factors to the backwardness where the country to suffer. You know, and we'll begin to think with position, you know, because we can't keep this going. The politicians are not the only people who for keep in sight. The professionals have not been living up to their expectation either. So with that said, like I tell Ms. Sila, I think that may be something she may not be interested in talking about, but I have always been interested in taking the legal profession to task, because they are a disappointment, you know, and I welcome any of them, you know. Yes, ma'am.
Can I
Miss.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
what
you're free.
I want, oh sorry, what you have been once say
Yeah.
is that um in Sierra Leone it's difficult for understand exactly what's in the go on. Now we various institutions them where they operate in the country. One of the things where we find particularly difficult now the fact that it appear for say institutions they're not independent. Very, very difficult to see how, especially if you don't live somewhere else. You understand? So I
Yes.
guess now that the gentleman you mentioned made a talk about where people don't live somewhere else and on the institutions and they work independently, not attached to government and all join inside with waiting government they do, then it can somehow tricky for see why it is we all institution them, no matter which name be, always statutory institutions, whether the police, the judiciary, the professional institutions also, such as journalists, doctors, whichever you want for um, call, whichever group you want for call, it's difficult to see why it can appear like the institution they accidentally work independently. You understand?
Yes.
So it all come right back down to the comment what we make earlier about the whole chaotic sort of situation where you they see unfold in front of you. Because blanket accusations they're not good for make. If you want to deal with particular people and issues, you deal with them, but for just a blanket statement about all Australians in the diaspora or at home, not good, you know. And then bear in mind that Sierra the way they out in the diaspora, then they under different types of systems where even if they don't work fully in mainly then they work out and supposed to work, you know, and they're mainly independent of waiting governments they do. Now that make them successful, and I believe in the past, now one of the things in that way Obama been say is that if you get strong institutions in any country, one then way they work for waiting at the purpose, where they did it for a more beneficial for the country, for democracy as a whole, for the people them, and for the country in progress. We're so fortunate to see kind of independence. One get disparities. People say like extreme poverty. Some people they talk all that thing where we democracy they're not um, functioning in that allow institutions to be independent for the people. There are all sorts of things, but I not say we they enjoy that level of democracy way past the confidence and that. I think that now some of the problems that we really have.
Well, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. So I am hoping that with this issue, I hope you go avail yourself to we one or two more times so we go address this drug issue. And if you run into
Yeah,
anybody else who shares um, your expertise, they will be more than welcome for come and join we on another occasion for talk about the issue and let we know what is being treated. Last week we had a doctor who is a Sierra Leonean, who called, who said he deals with drug addiction and all of that. And we were hoping that we will get him to help with the situation, but he's not ready at this time, which, of course, I respect very much. But we hope that maybe somewhere down the line, he will get a change of heart and he will come. And even if he not come, if he can find some people and we go help with this serious society situation, you know. But I don't know how much, I don't know how much for thank you for you on a very short notice for avail yourself for talk about this issue. Maybe by talking about it, we might be able to awaken the attention and the sensibilities of the government for make them begin to give attention to some of the issues there. You know, they don't have to be told, but if they have to be told, we will tell them. So I want to thank you very much. But if you have any closing statement for me, please feel free because we are almost at the end of the show.
Yes, well, thank you too for where Una invite me for come on board. I'm happy for get the opportunity for discuss issues them where they affect we na Sierra Leone. I did do a campaign on this drug awareness for raise the awareness amongst Sierra Leonean communities in Sierra Leone and outside of Sierra Leone. So some people they know me from social media. I they post the campaign details on there. If I can just add in a signature, not a money, just signature. Just add in a signature there for build up the number of people that we concerned about this drug issue. Then at least now one small step we able for make we concerns and we voices them known to we communities.
Very, very much. Yeah. And hope to be back in touch.
Oh.
Yeah. Hope this is not this won't be the last time. So have a nice evening. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And for the listeners, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for participating. With 2 hours don't run very, very, very fast. They say time flies when you're having fun. And for me, sometimes I'm having fun with some of the issues here. So the 2 hours go quicker than expected. So I thank you all for coming, and the one that will not call, will just listen, or we send written commentaries. All of that is welcome. So thank you very much. Until next week, have a nice beginning of a new week. Take care.